With 22 major singles titles and the only player to win the quote unquote Golden Grand Slam, capturing all four majors and an Olympic gold medal in the same year, Steffi Graf laid claim to being one of the greatest tennis players in the history of the sport. The versatile Steffi Graf, who accumulated championships regardless of playing surface, also placed a stranglehold on the number one world ranking for 377 cumulative weeks, 186 of them being consecutive, from 17th August 1987 to 10th March 1991. Starting with the 1987 French Open and lasting until the 1990 French Open, Steffi Graf advanced to 13 consecutive major singles finals, winning 9 of them. On tennis's biggest stages at Wimbledon, Australian Open, French Open and US Open, Graf was a finalist 31 times with a winning percentage of 90. With a devastating inside-out forehand, perhaps the best and biggest single shot in the history of the women's tennis game, Graf carved out a dominant stretch of excellence. She was ranked in the world top 2 for a consecutive stretch of 10 years, 3 months and 1 week, stretching from 2nd March 1987 to 8th June 1997. Her career win-loss record was 902 to 115 and she won 107 titles in her career. Steffi Graf was the International Tennis Federation World Champion a record 7 times in 1987, 1988, 1989, 1990, 1993, 1995 and 1996, and she was also honored as the WTA Player of the Year 8 times. Following her fourth of the 5 championships she won at the US Open in 1995, Steffi Graf became the first male or female tennis player to win each of the 4 major singles titles at least 4 times. 4 times in her career, Steffi Graf won 3 out of the 4 majors contested in a given year in 1989, 1993, 1995 and 1996. Steffi Graf captured the Australian Open 4 times in 1988, 1989, 1990 and 1994. Steffi Graf won the French Open 6 times, 1987, 1988, 1993, 1995, 1996 and 1999. Steffi Graf won Wimbledon 7 times, 1988, 1989, 1991, 1992, 1993, 1995 and 1996. And the US Open 5 times, 88, 89, 93, 95 and 96. She lost 10 or less matches at each of the 4 majors, losing only 6 matches at the Australian Open, only 10 matches at the French Open, only 8 matches at Wimbledon and only 10 matches at the US Open. After winning her 6th French Open and advancing to the Wimbledon Ladies Championship final in 1999, the German nicknamed Fräulein Forehand retired from tennis. Only 4 other tennis players had achieved a calendar year Grand Slam: Maureen Connolly, Margaret Court, Dawn Budge and Rod Laver. Rod Laver, of course, had won the calendar year Grand Slam twice. Steffi Graf earned $21,895,277 US in her career as prize money. In head-to-head competition against players who were also ranked number 1 in the world, Steffi Graf posted an 87 win to 41 defeat record. Against number 2 ranked players in the world, she was a remarkable 42 wins to 5 defeats. Against number 3 ranked players, 100 wins, 23 defeats. Against number 4 ranked players, 94 wins, 6 defeats. Against number 5 ranked players, 28 wins, 6 defeats. Cumulatively, Steffi Graf was 440 wins to 91 defeats against 57 players ranked within the top 10 in the world and never lost a match to 21 of them, and only 1 match to 12 others. In her 32 trips to a major singles final, Steffi Graf faced Spain's Arantxa Sanchez Vicario 7 times, winning 5 times. Monica Seles was an opponent in 6 major finals and the duo split their matches 3 each. Graf and Martina Navratilova faced each other 6 times and Graf had the advantage 4-2. Chris Evert said, "Steffi Graf is the best all-round player. Martina Navratilova won more on fast courts and I won more on slow courts, but Steffi came along and won more titles on both surfaces." Like many European players who achieve stardom on the professional tour, Steffi Graf was taught how to hit a tennis ball at an extremely young age. How young? 3 years. Focused and driven to become a champion, Graf hit the junior tournament circuit with abandon, becoming a European champion in the juniors category in 1982. She turned professional also in 1982 at a mind boggling age of 13. There was no discernible difference between Steffi Graf's playing styles or court demeanor, whether she played on hard court, grass courts, or clay courts. She played like a robot, like a machine, no emotions, strong with a stone face, said fellow German Claudia Kode Kilsch, who herself won 8 WTA Tour singles titles during her career, but was 2 wins to 12 defeats versus Steffi Graf. Steffi Graf had the athletic skills necessary to become a champion. She had what her competitors said was the best footwork in the game. She was immensely fit due to a structured and rigorous training schedule that made her strong, fast, and quick, her legs being a weapon themselves. She attacked the ball on the rise, lifting herself off the ground and nearly out of her shoes to pound her forehand drive. Her timing was impeccable, honed with hours of serious practice time. Steffi Graf's mental toughness and desire to win gave her an edge few could match. She said that the game's top players helped her raise her level, but the true competitor was Steffi Graf herself. Her professional career began modestly in October 1982 with a 6-4 6-love defeat against Tracy Austin in Stuttgart, Germany. Tracy Austin was 20 years old at that time and had already won the US Open in 1979 and 1981. The following year, Steffi Graf played her first full professional season. The first of her 107 tournament victories came on 13th April 1986 when the 16-year-old Steffi Graf defeated Chris Evert at the Family Circle Cup in Hilton Head, South Carolina 6-4 7-5. A superstar in the shape of Steffi Graf was unleashed, and over the next 4 years, Graf won 46 WTA tournaments, her finest season coming in 1989 when she captured 14 titles. Steffi Graf's ascent to greatness was produced at a slow burn, then turned red hot. She captured her first major championship at the French Open in 1987, defeating Martina Navratilova 6-4, 4-6, 8-6. In 1988 and 1989, Steffi Graf was the most dominant player in the world, winning 7 of the 8 majors contested, only losing in the 1989 French Open final. By the end of 1990 season, Steffi Graf had won 8 out of 12 major titles in a 3-year stretch. Her cumulative record placed her in rarefied space. She was 78 wins to 4 defeats in major tournament play in those 3 years. In winning the 1988 Grand Slam and Olympic gold medal, Steffi Graf dispatched Chris Evert at the Australian Open, Natasha Zvereva at the French Open, 6-love, 6-love, Navratilova at Wimbledon, Gabriela Sabatini at the US Open, and at the 1988 Seoul Olympic Games. Steffi Graf made a bid to capture back-to-back Olympic gold medals at the 1992 Barcelona Games, but was defeated by upstart Jennifer Capriati. Mary Jo Fernandez said she was just dominating. She was winning her matches so fast. People went out against Steffi knowing they were going to lose. It was just a matter of how long could you keep Steffi Graf on the court. If not for the upset defeat to 17-year-old Sanchez Vicario at the 1989 French Open final, where she led 5-3 in the third set, Steffi Graf would have claimed back-to-back calendar year Grand Slams. At the Australian Open, she had toppled Helena Sukova. She had won Wimbledon for a second straight time over Martina Navratilova and defended her US Open crown, once again defeating Martina Navratilova. While Steffi Graf had to deal with assorted injuries from 1991 to 1996, especially in the beginning of the season, which led her to miss 3 Australian Opens, she was still winning major titles at a regular rate. 3 straight Wimbledons were won from 1991 to 1993. The 1993 season saw her flirt with another potential Grand Slam as she took all but the Australian Open, where she lost to Monica Seles 4-6, 6-3, 6-2. Steffi Graf won 3 of 4 majors in both 1995 and 1996. It was not until the 1997 season that Graf's knees and back began to flare up enough to affect her play. She missed winning a major for the first time in 10 years and saw another rising young player, Martina Hingis, take her spot as the world number 1 ranked player. Steffi Graf battled through those injuries, closing out her career in 1999 with a French Open title at the age of 30, appropriately over Martina Hingis, who became her heir apparent. Steffi Graf defeated Martina Hingis in the 1999 French Open final 4-6, 7-5, 6-2. Her final major tournament appearance came in the 1999 Wimbledon final where she fell to Lindsay Davenport 6-4, 7-5. Steffi Graf's retirement in 1999 coincidentally came when other celebrity athletes also closed out their careers, including Michael Jordan, John Elway, Wayne Gretzky, and Barry Sanders. Steffi Graf said, I have done everything I wanted to do in tennis. Right now I am perfectly fit. This is no way about injuries. In the year of her retirement, Steffi Graf was named the greatest female tennis player of the 20th century by a panel of tennis experts assembled by the Associated Press. Steffi Graf played 7 years on the German Fed Cup team where she compiled a 20 wins to 2 defeats singles record and led the team to becoming champions in 1987 over the US and in 1992 over Spain. 4 times in her career, Steffi Graf won the season-ending tour championships in 1987, 1989, 1993 and 1995. Doubles was clearly not Steffi Graf's specialty, but she dabbled in the competition enough to win the 1988 Wimbledon Ladies Doubles Championship alongside Gabriela Sabatini. The duo were also finalists at the 1986, 1987 and 1989 French Open. Steffi Graf also won 11 WTA titles and compiled a 173 win to 72 defeats record in doubles. Even before her career concluded, Steffi Graf had her eye on the future. In 1991, she founded the Steffi Graf Youth Tennis Center in Leipzig, Germany. She is also the founder and active chairperson of Children for Tomorrow, a non-profit foundation with the goal of implementing and developing projects to support children who have been traumatized by war or other crises. In 2001, she married fellow tennis superstar Andre Agassi, making them one of only 2 married couples enshrined into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. The debate regarding who is the greatest female tennis player of all time rages even today, but many people firmly believe that Steffi Graf was the greatest female tennis player of all time.